Hello everyone, and welcome to a video I didn't think I'd be doing for a very long time. I didn't know how many of you would actually want a video like this, so I put together that poll, and you all did the right thing and made sure that the yes was at 69%, so I'm all very proud of you. I wanted to do this really casually and just have a little Q&A here while I play one of my all-time favorite games on yet another playthrough. So this is going to be really casual as I sit here and play this game, answer your questions to the best of my ability. Maybe some of them I won't answer, I don't know, depends on how I'm feeling. First off, I'm just going to answer some very basic questions about myself. I'm not going to, drop all the information all at once. I gotta keep some of that to myself. But I'm 30 years old, and I forgot I did that. And right now I am living in Utah, where I live with my family. I'm married and I have a 4-year-old who I am very sure you will hear at some point during this, because he's impossible to keep all by himself entertained for very long. So I've been living abroad recently, and due to COVID, I wasn't actually planning on living in the States, and it's actually because of my my education that I was traveling abroad, and it also meant that there were really big gaps between when I would actually post videos. So I started about 3-ish years ago when I was living in Denmark doing my master's in geoscience, and I started a PhD program, at which time I took a break because it was just a little too much, a little too busy. Anyway, that ended up taking me to China at a certain point. Who are you? Yes, thank you.
Hello? Can you help me?
What's wrong?
Go up the path.
I don't remember this guy, actually. Oh, and there's my son on cue. Okay, I think I got that figured out now. I do not remember who this guy is. I feel like... Oh boy. Uh-oh, did I accidentally shoot him? Oh my gosh, what? Oh boy. Oh. See ya, bud. Okay. Oh, good stuff, good stuff. Dynamite. Yeah, I kind of made them mad, if you noticed in the background of my last video. I just went full gangbusters on the powder gangers, which, let's be honest, they deserve it. So, that's going to be all that I'll answer about myself for now. Like I said before, I'm going to leave some of that mysterious. Maybe, when I feel, when I want to, when I feel up to it, I can elaborate a bit more on a lot of that stuff. So, Anthony Valiolus, I don't know how to say your name, or your username. He asks, is Mr. House good or evil? And well, I'm a little evil right now, killing a young gecko. I actually like geckos. And I think this is something that you can't just say offhand, yes or no. I think it's pretty gray, which I think is great, and actually a reason why I'm going to side with Mr. House on this playthrough, because believe it or not, that's actually something I've not done before. I've done the wild card, I've done the NCR, and I've started a few that I never finished, so I don't really think those ones count. Anyway, so do I think he's good or evil? That would really start to get into, morality and objective good, objective evil. I think Mr. House thinks that he knows what is best for the Wasteland and New Vegas in particular, and he might be right. He's a smart guy, and he has the intelligence and the means to maybe pull New Vegas in particular, out of its post-apocalyptic situation. So do I think he's good or evil? I think it depends, and that's kind of a cop-out answer. Sorry about that. Maybe that's something I can address in a later video, though. So Mr. A, the Trigger Galleon, asks me what my favorite and least favorite quests in the Fallout series and the weapons that I like and dislike. Okay, favorite quests. I immediately think of quite a few quests from New Vegas. I enjoyed the Come Fly With Me quest, I think it's called. The one with Jason Bright and the Nightkin. I think that one's pretty interesting, pretty fun. It took me a bit to realize that you don't have to, go and kill the Nightkin straight out. I think if you when you go down to the basement to kind of confront them, if you don't go see the leader first, they just instantly aggro. So I thought this whole time that was the only option, was just to go down there and just start killing them. It wasn't until one of my playthroughs when I realized if you went to the left and went into this room, come back here. Where's he going? Oh my god, he faked me out. That you could actually reason with him. And I thought that was really cool. I think Jason Bright's a really interesting character. His voice and everything is like really crazy, and I think it's kind of cool. I don't think I've been up here actually. But I'm too much of a Fallout veteran to just walk into something like that.
You need to be careful.
Whoa.
It's dangerous out here.
Man, this guy, kind of a creeper. Oh, is this a Wild Wasteland? I just heard the little Wild Wasteland thing. I don't really understand. Search Johnny. Unfortunately, I don't really understand this one, but, someone will have to explain to me what this is. 4 aces, balloons. Yeah, I don't get it. Anyway, that's one of my favorite quests. And I like how at the end, if you really want to, you can completely screw their entire trip and make them crash into each other. I did that on accident one time. It wasn't really clear what exactly would happen when you alter their trajectory. And so I did it, and, I should have known better since it was Fallout New Vegas, and I watched them crash into each other and die, which I had not intended to have happen. So, I think that's one thing that really draws me to this series as a whole, is a lot of times it's unpredictable. I don't always understand or know what's going to happen.
But thanks for clearing out the geckos.
Aha! I knew it was a trick. Wow, that was fast. Probably just going to run around with this for a little bit. An egg timer. Guess maybe to build a bomb or something. Okay, let's do my favorite weapon that I like or dislike. It really depends on the game. I really liked the tri-beam laser rifle in Fallout 3. In Fallout New Vegas, oh man, there's so many to choose from in New Vegas. But I really like I think the plasma caster is one of my favorites. Fallout 4, I really liked the Gatling lasers, and the radium rifles, which came with the DLC, the Far Harbor DLC. I thought those were really cool. And then in the OG Fallouts, I would run around again with plasma casters or a sniper rifle, kind of depending on my build. I haven't experimented a whole lot with unarmed builds in the first Fallouts because they seem to have a slightly higher learning curve. So that's what I'm going to answer for that question. Booker Chase asks, would I consider doing a video of just the Brahmin tips? And I believe you're referring to how you can tip Brahmin over. I think so. But, I mean, if that's what you really want, then, you know, let the people eat cake, or, you know, however that goes. Holy crap. Oh, jeez. Oh, my gosh. I'm gonna die. He is not happy. I guess. Okay, we're gonna ambush these guys. Kilowolf says that he wants to hear what got me into this. And by this, I'm guessing he means making videos. Oh, jeez. About Fallout. And that has to do with the fact that I had moved to Denmark to do my master's. I loved Fallout. I had played through Fallout 4 a few times. And some of my other hobbies, I wasn't really able to do as much. So I really enjoy paintballing, but that's expensive and not super easy to do there. So I started writing a lot about Fallout stuff and theories and all this stuff. And eventually, throughout the games, I've, of course, noticed things that I recognized from the real world. And I thought maybe there might be something that somebody on YouTube had done about it. And I found that I couldn't really find someone that would go through the different aspects of Fallout or talk about the things that weapons or vehicles or whatever were based off of. And I needed something to do to kind of fill my time. And so I just decided to start doing that since I couldn't find it anywhere. So that's kind of what got me into it. In a sense, is, you know, a lot of necessity. I wanted something that itched a lot of scratches, right? I enjoy learning, and I enjoy kind of talking about Fallout. And my wife is completely done with talking about Fallout with me, and that's okay. So this seemed to let me do a lot of those things, and that's what got me into it. So Caveman says, what is my favorite Fallout game, and why is it Lego Batman 2? Caveman, how do you know so much about my life? Just kidding. Lego Batman 2, I've literally never played it. I've played some of the Lego games with my son. Gotcha. But I actually honestly haven't played too many of the Lego games, which is kind of a travesty because they're pretty fun. And there's one of our beloved glitches right there. Ooh. Okay, what was I gonna do with my build here? Always put a few into this guy. And then I do like science because science is great. If you disagree with me, then, you know, that's, I guess, too bad. And then let's do, I do like repair. Okay. Okay, so my favorite Fallout game, I'll answer that, is, it really depends. I think Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas are kind of tied, but for different reasons. Fallout New Vegas, I feel like, is just on the merits of the game itself, just the better game. And I think that comes down to the writing. I think that comes down to having such an interesting conflict that, you know, people are still talking about today, about who's right, who's wrong, and why we should support one faction over the other. And there's so many possibilities. Not to mention they enhanced some features, which is great. And I think all of those things come together in a game that is just absolutely fantastic. Fallout 3 was my first Fallout game, and I believe there's a question later that asked me what my first Fallout game was, so sorry for spoiling it. But Fallout 3 was my first. I absolutely adored it, so there's definitely a nostalgic component of it. But one real big important thing to me when it comes to Fallout 3 is the fact that I love its atmosphere. And I think, in my opinion at least, it's superior to that of New Vegas's. I love the bleakness, just kind of the post-apocalyptic hopelessness that I feel when I play Fallout 3. So for those reasons, I would actually say that they're kind of tied, which again isn't a great answer. So sorry if you hate that, but that's just the way it is, right? There isn't always a super cut and dry answer. So Rachel the Seeker says, how often do I use chems in Fallout, and which ones do I use? Honestly, in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, I don't use quite as many chems. I'll use some Psycho or is Psycho in Fallout 3? I can't remember now. But if it increased my damage output, then I would generally use it. It wasn't until Fallout 4 that I actually really started using a lot of chems. And that's because I really liked... Oh, I found a camp. I really liked the jet and how it slowed down time and everything. So I would use that quite a bit, actually. So I probably used chems the most in Fallout 4. I also loved how when you would pop some Psycho, your character would just scream. I thought that was so funny. And if you combine that with some jet, then he does it in slow motion. It's fantastic. So Michael4201 says, do you say pop or soda? I say soda pop. Just kidding. I don't say soda pop. I say soda, which is funny because I think generally this area I'm from, more people say pop than soda. And my parents also say pop, so I don't know why I say soda. But yeah, that's just the way it is. Yeah, I prefer soda over pop. So Connor Thomas asked me a bunch of questions, and I just kind of combined them all. Oh dear. Oh, I regret this decision. Oh, maybe not. So his first question is energy or ballistics? And I will say I like energy weapons more than ballistic weapons, but I find myself using a lot of ballistic weapons because the ammo is so plentiful. So if I could, I'd probably just use energy weapons. But I'm often switching over to ballistic weapons because I'll run out of, energy cells or microfusion cells or something like that. Could the Master take on the Enclave? I think this one is definitely a longer video where I could kind of get into a lot of the details and the small things. But I would just say on its face, probably not. I think the Enclave as a whole represents a pretty enormous threat to the Wasteland. They have a lot of resources. There are a lot of them. And then, they have had Frank Horrigan, which he himself is an absolute monster, right? So I would say the Enclave could take on the Master, but that would have been that'd probably make some cool fanfic, how the Enclave would interact with the Master had they met him first, maybe try to capture him and contain him so they could study him. In the meanwhile, he creates some plot where he breaks free, or just, I don't know, something about taking over a good portion of the Enclave army or operations or something like that. Then Connor asks who my favorite NPC is. There are just so many good NPCs. It's really hard to say. I I really, for some reason, like Hancock from Fallout 4. I think he is just such a chill guy, except for when he isn't, like when he completely just stabs someone right in front of you. But I like his voice, and he's always just a pretty funny guy to talk to, and he's got a fairly interesting story. How he turned into a ghoul and everything. So I like having Hancock around. Favorite faction in Fallout? I actually really like the Children of Adam. I know they maybe not be considered a faction. But especially after Fallout 4 and the Far Harbor DLC, I actually really thought they were super interesting. And I did one playthrough where I played as a child of Adam, and that's the one where I'm basically irradiated all the time, which also seems very appropriate given my channel name. My favorite power armor suit, I think the T-45 is really cool in Fallout 4, and the T-60 is just an even beefier version of the T-45. So I might go with the T-60 just based on looks alone. But I also really like I think the T-51 is pretty cool. But if I was to build one to go, cosplay as or something, it'd probably be a set of T-60 power armor. My favorite Raider gang, I think, am I stealing? Oops. I'm gonna take it. So my favorite Raider gang, I always thought Fallout New Vegas has a lot of good Raider gangs, and it's kind of hard to choose. I always thought that, I forget what they're called, but they're in Fallout 3, and they have a bunch of hockey gear on them, and their name is related to ice hockey, and I always thought that they were pretty funny. But I think the Fiends are pretty interesting just because of how savage they are, and they play a pretty big role in this game. So if I had to choose one, I'd probably say the Fiends. They just seem like such a great post-apocalyptic Raider faction with just how crazy they are, how savage they are, and you have like Driver Nephi and some of these just absolutely insane people. And I think that's pretty interesting. Which Brotherhood do I like the most, Bethesda's or the original? So that is a super interesting question, and I feel like I could probably do an entire video out of that. And I don't want this Q&A to be super long, but I'd have to say that I think introducing a little bit more variety into the Brotherhood. So you have Lions Group, right, which they're not as focused on technology only. They actually want to help and show some compassion. I think that's interesting. I like the fact that they're not monolithic. I like the fact that, you see some variation. So I'd have to say I like the fact that there's variation. There's someone that we can say, hey, this is a pretty good guy, actually, when talking about Elder Lyons and Sarah. But I do see where a lot of people have issues with how Bethesda has handled the Brotherhood because of how far they've deviated. And I think Fallout 4 kind of changed the game a little bit. Oh, jeez. Oh! Well. That owned me. I think if I go sleep somewhere, that'll heal my limbs. Okay. How did I come to love Fallout? It started with Fallout 3. I had a bunch of friends recommend it to me. Before I even knew what Fallout 3 was, I had seen the cover art, and I just thought it was so cool that, T-45 power armor. And so I bought it well after the fact, well after it had come out. And I just was enthralled with the world and with just how everything was. I just thought it was so interesting. and that's what started the obsession. I loved the absurdness. I loved how dark it was. I loved the humor. I loved all of it. I'm gonna just shoot these things. And so that's what really started the obsession and how it became my favorite Fallout, or my favorite game series, period. I hadn't had a game kind of capture me like that since I was a small child. The Luftwaffe says, if you could live in any of the post-war states/nations, where would I live and why? And you know, I can tell you, I wouldn't want to live in China. They probably got pretty destroyed with the American Sino War and then the Great War on top of it. But you know, we don't know a great deal about the rest of the world. I'd probably maybe say Canada, just because I know it was annexed by the US, so it was probably targeted by China for that reason. But at the same time, I can't feel like too many nukes landed in Canada, and Canada is just a big place, right? So there's probably pretty good stretches of Canada that are almost untouched. So it seems like it might be a pretty good place where, you know, those close to you could kind of go out and kind of have your own, you know, little settlement away from a lot of the craziness. Cosmic Emu 08 says, who do you think started the Great War? And yeah, I love how ambiguous Bethesda has kind of kept this. It seems like it could be anyone at this point. I do have to say, I think China starting the war makes the most sense, just because, you know, the war wasn't going great for them. It went from an offensive war in Alaska to a completely defensive war in their own country. And even though the Americans kind of got bogged down, you have to know that it was probably, the writing was on the wall, and they probably said, you know, we're probably screwed either way. Maybe we can get ahead of the Americans. Oh, geez. Wow, I did not remember this. And just launch the nukes and hope that they could get ahead of any sort of retaliation from the U.S. But, you know, that's just my thoughts. What is an odd food I like? You know, nothing springs to mind, but I like a lot of foods. I don't discriminate a whole lot. I'd have to say one thing that I'm really into right now, and it might be just because it's kind of a fad right now, is I'm really liking kombucha, which I know there are several people that do not, like kombucha. But that's been something that I've been having, you know, fairly frequently, and I think is pretty good. It reminds me of a soda that I had in China that had some sort of, you know, vinegar taste to it, and I kind of like that. Ooh, a varmint rifle. Okay, how and why did I start playing Fallout? I think that's asked by, oh man, I'm not even gonna try and pronounce your name. No, I'm gonna go for it. Chavez? Oh my gosh, that was so bad. I'm so sorry, whoever you are. Yeah, I think I kind of answered that, where, you know, I had friends that recommended it to me and went ahead and played it, and, you know, ended up skipping some classes because I was just so enthralled with it. It was a very, very fun game. So Atomic Shark says, what is my favorite vehicle from Fallout? Yeah, vehicles, you know, when I think about Fallout, I don't think about too many vehicles, truthfully. You have, you know, vertibirds and stuff like that are functioning vehicles. If you mean, you know, any sort of vehicle, like, you know, this gem right here, that's just kind of laying out in the wasteland. I would probably have to say, I think the space shuttle in Fallout 2 is kind of cool. I like the look of it, and I like that, you know, it's a bunch of hobologists that want to launch themselves into space. I think it's kind of funny. So I'd probably say that, even though it's kind of stretching, the definition of a vehicle. Let's see, MN Pegasus XX says, what do you think of Fallout Tactics? So to be completely honest, I've only played a little bit of Tactics. That is the one Fallout game, well, that and, the Brotherhood game that is, reviled by basically everybody. Goodbye. I'm not going to talk to you right now. And so, because I haven't played very much of it, I'm actually not I don't feel like I can give a great answer. It was hard to get into, I will say that, but I think that's just because I need to get used to how the game works and the mechanics and everything, and just understand that it's not a normal RPG, right? It's a squad-based type game. So I think once I kind of learn the mechanics quite well, that I'm going to give it a real shot, and then I'll get back to you on that. Joseph Stalin says, are you having a good day? I am having a pretty good day. I can't complain all that much. Thanks for asking. And then he says, do I like orphan meat? To which I say, who doesn't like orphan meat as long as it's organic, right? Grass-fed, cageless. That, of course, is a joke. Freedom is for all said, is there something I feel like is missing from Fallout? And, I was just thinking about this recently, actually, and there is something that I feel like would just be so proper for Fallout that isn't in there, and that is number stations. And for those of, oh my gosh, what the ZZ Top? For those of you that aren't familiar with number stations, they are Cold War era radio stations that transmit a lot of random things, and they're called number stations because a lot of times some of the things that they transmit are just random numbers, and there's a lot of questions about what their purpose is for, and where they come from, and all of this. It seems pretty widely accepted that it's the government, various governments, that use them as a way to send out messages to operation or intelligence officers or spies or something like that. But go listen to some of them on YouTube if you don't know what I'm talking about. Just look up number station recordings. They are super interesting. They're very creepy, and they're Cold War era. They just seem like you could make a mission. You could make so many interesting things from a number station in a Fallout game. So that would be my answer. Ugh. So, King of Dogs says, what do I think of the derivatives of Fallout? And by that, he's referring to things like, Wasteland and Metro and things like that. And although I might not agree that they themselves are exactly derivative, oh geez, there are a lot of those guys. Holy crap. Okay. Well, all right. Okay. So, I actually haven't played very many of them. I really want to play the Metro series. I did download and I do have the one of the Wasteland games, and I'd like to make my way through it. But I do like, in general, post-apocalyptic games. So, and that's something that I didn't really know until I played Fallout, and I really enjoyed Fallout. So, Tone Thick says what my favorite ammo type is and why. I'm not sure if you're referring to, like a favorite caliber or something like that, but I'd have to say and I guess technically this doesn't apply to the ammo, although it should, but the explosive variants in Fallout 4, those things are just OP. But you kind of have to be careful because it's just as easy to, blow your own leg off in close quarters as it is to get the enemy. So, That would be my answer, even though it's not technically an ammo type, but it should be, because, you know, how does a gun make a round explosive? It's the round. The round's explosive or it's not. Anyway. Kill you. Alright. Dairy Product says what I think the best Fallout New Vegas ending is, and do I have any Fallout collectible stuff? And I will say the best ending, at least the one I like the most, is the wild card ending. So when, you know, you end the game as the ruler of Fallout New Vegas, basically. Okay, now run. Gotta run and heal. Really any ending where you can throw off the general, his name escapes me right now, off the Hoover Dam is pretty fantastic though. Oh jeez, oh my gosh. Alright, I get this guy's just too much for me. Shotgun maybe? Jeez, dude, holy. Shotgun to the face. Oh yeah, that's the stuff right there. Man, he was owning me with that butcher's knife. He had a flamer? Why wasn't he using that? Or an incinerator? That's weird. So, oh, how do you miss a shot like that? Do you like that? Oh yeah, money shot. Okay. So then, King of Nuclear Fallout 33210 says, what is my favorite DLC and why is it my favorite? I've really started liking, on multiple playthroughs, not Old World Blues. That one was my initial favorite because I thought it was so funny, but on later playthroughs, I like it less and less. There's a lot of dialogue, and there aren't as many ways to end it. You know, very many unique ways to end it. But the Dead Money is probably becoming one of my favorites. But Dead Money, The Pit, and Far Harbor are all up there as my top favorite DLCs. Adrian Marler says what my favorite Fallout game is and what was my first Fallout game. So again, Fallout 3 was my first, and it's one of my favorites, and then it's probably tied with New Vegas. Whoa. Don't mind me, I'm gonna sit here and tank a bunch of rounds from him. So then Ryan says, what was my most memorable moment in Fallout? And oh man, there are too many to speak of. Really any moment that just you weren't expecting it to end the way that it was. And I think a great example of that is the vault in Fallout New Vegas. I forget which vault it is, but the one where everybody's has a campaign so that they don't get voted as the sacrifice. And then you end up going into the sacrificial chamber, and you end up watching this video, and it's all very, you know, interesting. I don't know a great way to describe it. And it ends, and you're like, wow, you know, that was kind of profound in like a 1950s Americana type way. You know, talking about life and how great it's been, and you're about to sacrifice, and then all of a sudden the doors go down, and you just start getting absolutely destroyed by a bunch of robots. You know, moments like that are why I play Fallout, because they're so unexpected, they're so funny, they're so just off the wall, and that definitely is the most memorable. Those are the most memorable moments to me. Yeah, you are. I like how you just bent over. Antero Shetland says, how is life? And I have to say, it's good. It's a lot better now than it was in 2020. I'm sure a lot of you can agree with that. And I'm glad that, you know, the world seems like it's slowly... Oh my, where did he come from? There goes your head. Oh, I'm about to die. Holy. Stimpack. So, oh my. Come on. I mean, I haven't had enough. Have you had enough? I'm gonna take all this stuff. One key. Okay, so yes, life is good. It's a lot better than it was in 2020, and we'll leave it at that just for now. This video is already going to be much longer than I thought it would be. Oh, I hate fighting. Oh my gosh. All right, yeah, I know. I hate fighting freaking unarmed or people with melee weapons when I have a melee weapon, because they block my hits and all that stuff, and it's really annoying. Yeah, let's do this. Oh yeah, I forgot that this like shoots a flaming ball or something. Alright, let's go loot them. That's the other thing I love about Fallout. I love going and looting them. Seems like he has a cool hat. Old cowboy hat. Let's take that. Oh no, I'm over encumbered. I hate this. So, let's look at another question. Antero Shetland also asks, pancakes or waffles? And I'd have to say it depends, but my wife started making some really great buttermilk pancakes that are really, really good. So I would say, you know, probably those pancakes. I really like those. How do I feel about having 10K subscribers and what are my plans for the next few months of my channel? Honestly, I don't even know what to think, if I'm being completely honest. I never thought that this many people would subscribe. I knew that the Fallout community, although it's not tiny, it's also fairly niche, and my videos don't have super broad appeal. I feel like you basically just have to be a super nerd to enjoy my videos. So, you know, all of you guys, I really appreciate all of you. I think you are all so awesome. I feel like we're birds of a feather in a way, you know what I mean? So the type of people that I could surround myself with and have fun conversations about Fallout, because I love talking about Fallout. My plans for the channel, well, I do have some plans. I don't really want to spoil them a whole lot. A lot of it has to do with increasing the production quality of my videos. So I kind of want it to be somewhat of a surprise, and I also want it to be a treat for you guys, because really it's you that will make it possible. And so, yeah, I just want to have it be a surprise and be able to say, hey, this is only possible because of you guys. Thank you, type of thing. So let's try not to die real quick. Where's my... Aha! This thing seems to be doing a pretty good job. Oh, where are you going, son? Get back here. Really? Oh my gosh, he's so fast. BB gun? Yeah, no. Do I? Nope. There. Grenade rifle? I have one of those? You might be able to outrun me, but you won't be able to outrun the grenade launcher. Oh my gosh, this game. Anteros also asks, have I played Fallout 4 Far Harbor and what is my take on it? That could be a whole video. The answer is yes, I have, and the answer is I really, really liked Far Harbor. I think it was an absolutely great DLC. I kind of wish all of Fallout 4 was more like Far Harbor. And I think that's a pretty common sentiment amongst a lot of the fans. But, you know, we'll take what we can get. So, that is my take on it. Love it. I think it's great. Other games I play other than Fallout, right now, I'll be completely honest, there are not very many. I very casually play World of Tanks, because, and it's the mobile version, the Blitz version, because they're very quick games. You know, I can sit down, you know, go poo, play a game, and that's about it. It's kind of sad because I have to really set aside time to even sit down and, you know, do something like this or like capture gameplay for my videos. And that's just because, you know, life's busy and I want to make sure that I'm putting time where it's where it needs to go, and oftentimes that's my family, or that's taking care of stuff around the house. Face reveal when? Anteros asks, and I don't know when, but I will say it's not going to be soon. Sorry. That's another thing. Oh yes, come down. So come down so I can loot you. There we go. So I think it's probably fairly evident by my videos, especially my earlier ones, that, you know, I'm not an extremely extroverted person. If someone wants to speak to me, I'll speak to them. I don't have a problem speaking with people, but I generally don't go out of my way to talk to other people. And there are various reasons for that, you know, I don't think are important, but I do value my privacy. I am not extremely extroverted, and for those reasons, it's probably going to be a while. I'm just going to say that. I don't have a plan for it, though, so maybe it can be another milestone type video. Where would I like to see a future Fallout game? There are many places I think would make great Fallout games, locations, and I think Fallout New Orleans probably tops my list right now. I just think the culture there would be so interesting. The environment would be super interesting. You could have all sorts of crazy creatures, and you could get, you know, the voodoo culture in there, and it's so far away from all the other games that we could see some new factions, which is something I really want to see. I want to see Bethesda really flex their creativity, and instead of giving us more of the same, actually giving us something new and unique that we can all kind of talk about. Advice for future YouTubers. Honestly, my advice is this. You know, if you want to make videos, if this is something you want to do, just do it. I will at some point post a picture of my whole setup, you know, my recording setup and everything, and it will make you all laugh. It is probably one of the most pathetic things you've ever seen. You know, and that's also why my production quality isn't the greatest. You know, I'm working with what I have. And so just don't let that be a barrier. Do something that you yourself would sit down and watch, or that you yourself would enjoy. And that's kind of how I decided on what I would do, because I decided to make videos based on things that I would like to see. And so that's my advice. You might not have, you know, the means with which to make a really high production video, and, you know, I don't either, but here I am. So don't let these things, there will always be an excuse. And if you're waiting for a day to not have any excuse, you're never going to do it. What was my favorite video to make and why? I don't really have a favorite video that I made. You know, when I'm doing them, gain 2 more skill points, sure. When I'm doing them, I think they're really interesting. You know, I have that initial rush to do the research and find, you know, some cool things that I didn't know before, or make some connection that I haven't seen talked about before. And so my states video that got a lot of traction, I really enjoyed that one, because I was really stretching, you know, what I knew and what we as a fan base know about. Hold on. Okay, I just had to make sure I was actually releasing him. That we as a fan base know about all the different states. And, you know, we all relate to a state, or at least those of us that are from the US. And I think that's part of the reason why that video was so successful, is because people, they related. They wanted to know, you know, what happened in my state in the Fallout universe. And so, yeah, that was a really fun one to make. How did I come up with my channel name? So, prior to having a channel that was dedicated to Fallout, I had a channel that I did World of Tanks replays on, and my username there was Sky King, which is just a nickname I've had for a long time, and I don't really know why. It's one of those that you've had it for such a long time that you don't even know where it came from or what it means or why you got it. And it just seemed like a pretty natural evolution just to go from Sky King to Rad King, you know. We have Fallout, and radiation is just a huge part of it. And yeah, it just seemed appropriate. Do I like the direction that the Fallout series is going? I will have to say that with Fallout 76, I am not very pleased with the way it's going. I will say that. I try to have an open mind. I try not to bandwagon, and it can be so much fun to just, to hate things, especially on the internet. Just jump on it and just rag on it, just hate it and talk about why it's terrible. And I was fully willing to give 76 a chance, and I actually waited about a year before I played it because I figured they'd probably have a lot of the bugs and things that people didn't like out of it at that point. And I was sadly a bit mistaken on that front. Not having the NPCs, I think, really hurt it in my eyes. You'd start a mission with some recordings, that maybe the mission or the quest sounds pretty cool, and they're going to go do something that's kind of intriguing, but you just know the people at the end they're going to be dead. You're just going to find a body, or maybe you won't even find a body, and to me that kind of took away some of the magic. Now, I do think the story is actually pretty interesting. I like the idea of the Scorch Beasts, and I like all of that. I think that's quite interesting, and I think that gets lost because of the way that they did it. And I hope that Bethesda does a course correction. I have in my brain, I've been creating a Fallout game that has more of the Fallout 3 vibe. The kind of the dark atmosphere and everything. But that also is kind of reminiscent of the earlier Fallouts, because those earlier Fallouts, there's always a kind of a boss at the end. You have the Master, you have Frank Horrigan, these things, and depending on what you choose, there is some variation, but there's this big bad guy, and I think that is something that Fallout has kind of been missing since that time. So if people are interested, I've been kind of formulating this whole game, you could call it, based on some of these things that I would really like to see in a future Fallout. Then Tyler asks me, what are some real-life weapons I'd like to see in a Fallout game? Real-life weapons. A lot of weapons in Fallout New Vegas are real-life weapons. I find it interesting, the approach between Obsidian or Black Isle and Bethesda, where Bethesda, they don't really like putting just, straight up real weapons into games. They like to take some creative liberties with them. Whereas, in New Vegas, we have guns from, the M16 family and lineage. So I can't think of anything right now that is a real weapon that I'd like to see in it. I have thought it'd be kind of cool if some sort of addition or upgrade that we could do to sniper rifles could be like some sort of 2-stage ammunition where, you shoot it, it comes out like a normal bullet, but then at a certain distance, a second stage engages, and it's almost like a little tiny rocket, and you get an extra damage increase because it's able to go just a little bit faster after a certain distance. I thought something like that would be kind of cool, and it would reward, snipers and those players, and be kind of a fun mechanic that people might enjoy. So that's the end of it, and this video's already much, much longer than I thought it would be. So I just want to tell you all again, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for asking me these questions. I really am speechless. I don't know what to say when it comes to, what's been happening recently with my channel. I really hope everyone is enjoying my content. I hope everyone's also learning. You know, I think learning is just so important, and it's something I enjoy myself. But you guys really, really are so great, and I love the corrections that you give, right? And telling me, you know, actually you missed this, or actually it's more like, you know, this looks more like this. I think that's so cool, and I love coming together and just kind of combining all our knowledge. So again, I want to thank all of you for your support, and for being so cool with, you know, just some random guy's attempt at wanting to talk about Fallout with other people, and to look at things in the Fallout world in a way that I hadn't seen done before. So please stay tuned, because there will be a lot of things coming down the pipeline with my channel, and I think you're all gonna like it a lot. So thanks, guys. I will see you all in another video. Why is it so hard to kill myself?